Working on diesels does not mean you have to spend a ton of money on tools. I'm going to jump on Amazon and show you what I'm talking about. What's happening, everybody? Nuts and Bolts with Tone here, and today I went through Amazon to find my list of the top diesel tools on Amazon that are pretty cheap. Now, you work on diesels, everything is super expensive. The tools are expensive, the parts are expensive, the labor is expensive, lots of hours. And the tools don't have to be. Sometimes it's just cheap tools that can get it done. And sometimes you can get diagnostic tools that don't cost an arm and a leg. You do not have to buy all your diesel diagnostic tools on a Snap-on truck. So before we do that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, you get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Let's jump right into this, Amazon. All right, let's jump right into it. So 6 liters, there's a lot of 6 liters on the road, and fortunately 6 liters probably have one of the cheapest test kits that you need to test for the most common problem on a 6 liter, which is a high pressure oil leak. Now this kit here, I have this kit, or I have a kit just like this. Actually, I don't have this kit because I don't have the IPR. I don't have the IPR adapter here. I don't ever test them that way because that requires a lot of work just to check for a high pressure oil leak. So you have your short fat one here, and this one is for the newer 6 liters that have the ICP on the front of the valve cover. And then the older style where it has a log instead of an oil rail, instead of a wavy rail, this is what you need right here. And you have to pull off the valve cover to install this. You pull the valve cover off, you pull a plug out, and you put this one in. This one here, you pull the IPR out and you screw that in with your air hose to your air pressure, and therefore you can test it. Newer 6 liter, older IPR. So that's that kit, 1160. That's going to get you right there. Let's see, they got an 8-piece set here. Now, if you wanted to go with I don't know, $8 more or $7 more, you can get this kit here, which comes with a socket. It comes with an IPR socket. It comes with O-rings and a screen. I don't recommend that. I have the Lyle socket personally. So 1160, get your testing on the 6 liters. Next up, now this is a little bit more expensive and this is a little more higher quality. Now, if you don't have a gauge, things like that, this kit right here works for 6 liters and 7.3s. So one of the things about a 6 liter is when you check the high pressure oil, you're supposed to actuate the IPR valve. You're supposed to close it. Well, if you don't have a scan tool or a bidirectional scanner that has the ability to do that, then you can't really close the IPR. So this kit here comes with, let's see, so it comes with a gauge, a liquid filled gauge. It comes with a hose, comes with all the adapters. It's a 6,000 PSI gauge, and it comes with an IPR jumper. So you can actuate the IPR just by connecting it to the battery. You can see we have the red and black leads there. So these are going to connect up to your pigtail here, and you can plug it into your pigtail, connect the positive and negative, and then your IPR is engaged. Now, by doing this, though, you don't get the warning that a scan tool gives you, which is you shouldn't leave the IPR energized for more than like 15 or 20 seconds. So you kind of want to be careful with that. And then it comes with a bunch of different adapters because this also works for a 7.3. Now, I believe you can also test high pressure oil with this. So if you wanted to actually see what the high pressure oil is doing, I saw a video of Stroker Diesel, I think, the other day, and he was checking a 7.3, and he actually had a mechanical gauge on the oil reservoir checking the high pressure oil. I've never done that before, but I mean, hey, so that this will do that. Got that. So this is a little more expensive. It's $110. Moving on. Now this is all right. So if you've ever had to pull out diesel injectors, if you have never had one that was stuck, you're lucky. I've had a few that took me a long time. I had a Sprinter that was the back injector. I mean, the furthest one back, I had no room, and we had a little tiny slide hammer, and I had to hit it for, A couple minutes, spray it, walk away. Come back, hit it, spray it, walk away. It took me about 4 or 5 days of doing this before I finally got the injector to let go. And so this kit here, this 123 bucks, and this covers most injectors. This is going to have a bunch of different adapters. It's got big slide hammers, little slide hammers. I mean, you can have stuck injectors on 6, 7 power strokes, sprinters. I've had them on all kinds of vehicles. I actually had an eco diesel that I did head gaskets on, and one of the injectors got stuck. And I ended up, we bought the special adapter, the special kit to remove this injector. There was only one injector remover kit for this eco diesel back when I did the head gaskets. It was like 150 bucks from the dealer, only one available. It broke trying to get the injector out. Luckily, the valve cover was plastic. I ended up just cutting the valve cover off, pulling the head off, and sent it to the machine shop, letting them extract it. And then I put a new injector in it. But so this is going to be your slide hammer kit. It's going to have all your different adapters for all different kinds of uh, fuel injectors for different manufacturers. So I know sprinters are way different. They can be really tough. So it's 123 bucks. Now, I've never used one of these. I've never seen one in person, but I've seen them on social media, and man, these things look badass. This is a pneumatic injector remover. So you hook up your adapter here and you hook up your tool. Let's see if
This
this
DAUN
looks
pneumatic
like
injector
here.
extractor kit includes extractor and several adapters, compatible with a wide variety of injectors on the market. Then connect the air hose to the vibration tool and the air compressor.
So that looks pretty cool. I mean, I'll tell you what, I would much rather have something that was pneumatically hammering itself out than all the work it takes with a slide hammer. But a little more expensive, 142 bucks, but it looks like it works for most injectors, and I'm sure if you didn't have the adapter, I'm sure you could make an adapter thread-wise. So that is the 2 injector remover kits. Now you can get smaller kits if all you work on is sprinters, but like we had one time and had a sprinter that was stuck and we had to order 3 different kits before we finally found one that worked. So it could be pretty difficult. So this looks like these 2 look like a pretty good kit that covers most injectors. Next up, now this is Vivor. I've never seen this before. I was just searching up, trying to find a good diesel compression test kit, and this is Vivor here. Now I know this looks cheap, 35 bucks, but I'll tell you what, I have multiple tools from Vivor. I have an inspection, like uh, a borescope. I have a pneumatic, like a ultrasonic parts cleaner. I have a pressure washer. I have a bunch of tools from Vivor, and to be honest, they've all worked great, and I haven't had any issues. And they're cheap. So, like I said, this is a cheap Amazon diesel tool tester. Now, I have a Snap-on one at work, but it only came with one adapter. So I have an adapter for a 6.0 and an adapter for a 6.4. I can't remember if 6.4 and 7.3 are the same, but I can do 7.3, 6.4s, and 6.0s. That's all I have for mine. So 35 bucks for that one there. And it's got 18 pieces. So it goes up to 1,000 pounds of PSI. So looks pretty cool, looks pretty legit. It's got all the adapters, like it goes in all the glow plug holes. A lot of the diesel compression tester kits that you look at, they don't have the long adapter that goes down in the glow plug hole. They just have short little adapters. So this is nice because this actually goes in, like if you look at the Snap-on compression tester, that's what a Snap-on compression tester looks like, except for it has a hose attached to it. So 35 bucks, Vivor's got you covered. And if you used any of these tools and you agree or disagree, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. Now, I found a couple different tools. Now, if you get a glow plug that breaks off, man, it sucks. And if you've never dealt with one before, the first time you're like, what am I going to do? Oh, crap. I had a Sprinter one time, a 3 liter, that a customer broke their glow plug off and they tried to drill it out themselves and they ended up drilling into the cylinder head. And I had to replace the cylinder head because they messed it up. So, anyways, this one kit here is 32 bucks and it looks like it covers zero point 0.3 inches and 0.4 inch glow plugs. So, not sure what it says. It's compatible with VW, BMW, Mercedes, Toyota, Alfa Romeo, I mean, GM. It looks like it fits a bunch. So, I've had to use it a few times. I had a Duramax, I had a Sprinter, and I've had, I think, a Ford that I had to do. So, and then here is another kit right here. Now, this one has a little bit more. This one says it does M8 and M10s. Um, this one is 50 bucks and it is 22 pieces. And this one here is 16 pieces and it is 32 bucks. So, two different kits and I will link all these products down below. And like I said, let me know. Now, Orion Motor Tech, OMT tools, if you haven't used any of their tools, man, they have some really good tools. I've got AC gauges. I've got a fuel line disconnect set where the fuel line disconnect, they're plastic and they're about this long. Lyle makes them. Everyone makes them at Matco, but they're all made by Lyle. Well, they're plastic. So you open them up and slide them in. Well, the OMT tools kit has aluminum. They're like a metal uh, uh, line remover. So you don't have that plastic because plastic just doesn't like to open up springs and things like that if the springs are stuck. And I fought with plastic ones before. So OMT tool makes some really good tools. Now, this is a set that you're going to want. You're going to want something like this diesel injector line socket wrenches. Now, these are awesome because you can see right there, you're getting right on top of the injector. Now, on the diesel fuel injector, so we got a 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Now, on diesel fuel injectors, the problem with the diesel fuel injectors is the return lines. So the return lines get in the way, and you just can't quite get to them. So this is showing you the drive, their half-inch drive. So OMT tools, we got the 12 through 19 and with a couple skips, 13, 15, 13 and 15 is the only ones missing. So 24, 29 for a 60 set. So not too bad. I like that. Now, this is not a cheap one because I didn't think that we should go with the cheap one on this. This is an OTC 5025 def refractometer. Now, I have this exact tool at work. It works great. If you've never used a refractometer, uh, what it does is it tests the quality of DEF fluid. So one of the biggest problems with diesels now is we have DEF, right? We have this diesel exhaust fluid. It's a fluid that shoots through an injector into the exhaust. Used to mess around in the past, joke around about exhaust fluid and things like that, but it's a real thing now. And one of the worst problems with diesels you're going to get is going to be a DEF quality code. You're going to get it in Duramaxes, Sprinters, Rams. It doesn't matter. Cummins. You're going to get them in all these different vehicles, and it can be a gazillion things. It can be a knock sensor. It can be O2. It could be so many different things. It could be a boost leak. Uh, but the problem is the very first step in testing for DEF quality is actually testing the DEF quality. So what you do is you put, why in the world is there a picture of a ball joint tool? Uh, so what you do is you put a drop of DEF fluid right there on the tip. You open this up, you put a drop of DEF fluid, you close the glass, and you look through this opening here. And you can look at it and it gives you, and you can zoom in, you can use this to adjust it to get the best picture quality. And then it gives you a scale inside and you get a number and you go look up the number and you see what the quality of def is and if it's good. Now this is 107 bucks, but I mean, you don't want a cheap tool. I learned a long time ago, I was taught in school, you got to be able to trust your tools. So if you have tools that you aren't sure if they work great, then you don't know if you're gonna, you could test it with a cheap one. If it says it's good, then you go around and you start replacing all these parts. You test all this stuff and you spend hours. And it turns out all it was was your diesel exhaust fluid tester. So this one here is good. If you know of a cheap one that works, drop a comment down below and let me know. But this is OTC. Now this is just a socket. I actually want to get one of these just because it'd be simpler than going and grabbing a socket on my cart. But this is a reversible. This is for the 6.4s and 6.0s. It's 24 milli and 36 milli. Put it one way, take your oil filter cap off, flip it the other way, and you're going to take off your fuel filter. Now, this is actually pretty important because if you ever work on a 6 liter, you know that 6 liters have, there's not going to be a picture of it, but 6 liters have a 1/2 inch drive. You can see it right there. So, in the middle of that fuel filter right there is a 1/2 inch drive hole. Well, I can't tell you how many times that I've seen these caps broken because somebody put a 1/2 inch drive there and it just doesn't hold. You got to have a socket. And then when you break this, the socket doesn't want to go on. Then you worry about fuel leaks, things like that. So 11 bucks, I mean, you can't go wrong. And there's a bunch of these. This is blue. I kind of like the color. There's red ones, things like that. I'll put a link down below for this one here. This one here is actually pretty important because I was doing a fuel filter on a eco diesel, and this is a fuel filter wrench for the eco diesel, and I was taking it off because I didn't have the socket, and I was using a 3-jaw oil filter tool to grab it and twist it, and I ended up almost cracking the fuel filter cap. So you're gonna want to make sure that you have the right tool. This is looks like this is for a 14 to 19 eco diesel. If you work on eco diesels, then you definitely want to get this. If you don't work on eco diesels, then thumbs up because they suck. Eco diesels are awful, but we still service them. We have a fleet that has 2 or 3 of eco diesels. So, anyways, this is 15 bucks right here for the fuel filter socket. Next up, now I bought this recently. I have these right here. Uh, there it is right there. There's the big one and the small one here. So this is the Lyle Tools Knox and Soot Sensor socket set. This is 38 bucks. This works great. These are really good. I don't like the tall ones that have the slit in them, like an O2 sensor type socket, because the problem with those is they're tall and all your force is up here, but it's grabbing down here. And so you end up with where it wants to pull this way instead of turning, or you get it where because it's so tall and it has a big long slit, it ends up opening up. O2 sensors. It used to work on O2 sensors, but I've had so many where it doesn't work. And then what happens is if you try to use a tool that's not working correctly, then what happens is the sensor, the Knox sensor, the O2 sensor, it starts to round. And then when you put the right socket on there, it doesn't want to come off because now you've already started around it. And once you start rounding something, it's over. So this is $37.90. Now this is a pretty cool set. It's not cheap, but I found it. Now, if you work on a lot of diesels and some exhaust stuff can be a real bugger to get out. I had a temp sensor in I believe it was a temp sensor in a particulate filter. Was sending the particulate filter out to be burned out. It was a 6.4, and it came in with a misfire, and it had 2 dead holes. And it was a company that bought this truck sight unseen from an auction, and came to me, had a misfire, needed an engine, and so they did an engine in it. And then when I got done, it kept setting it had reduced power, kept setting a particulate filter too loaded code, and tried to regen it twice, wouldn't regen. Sent the particulate filter out to be burned out. Turned out great, but the temp sensor broke off or rounded. I think it rounded. I couldn't get it out, so I actually had to send it out with the particulate filter and have them extract it. So there's a pretty cool set right here. This looks like it's got a bunch of different adapters. Now this is for, I believe this is for an air hammer shocket socket. So this is going to use this long bar right here, and it's going to rattle the sensor out. Instead of just applying just straight force, it's going to give it that air hammer action. So you're going to get the boom, 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 boom. And these things look like they're pretty beastie. So, and it looks like it even has a couple, thread chasers in here. Maybe. Looks like what they are. I didn't look a whole lot at this because it's not my cup of tea. I don't do that much diesel exhaust stuff, and I don't live in the Midwest where I have that kind of issues or rust issues. But $275, if you don't want to have issues with your diesel exhaust sensors and stuff like that, this is going to get you going right here. I'll link this down below. Now, this is so CTA Tools. I met these guys, they're American company, I believe out in New Jersey. And so this is a line of sockets that they have for the Cummins. So it looks like they've got 25, 28, 32. Oh, I guess I should have did them in order, huh? So they have an 8-piece set with a swivel. Now this is only $59. So that's actually not too bad. I mean, a lot of times you get one socket and it's $50. So for 59 bucks, I'll actually link this one down below because this is going to be better. Look at this. This is going to get you the 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, and 36. So you don't even need that other socket for the 6-liter. You get this if you work on Cummins, you work on Power Strokes. This is going to get you going on all your different sockets. And plus, they're low profile. So low profile is what you need because if you ever took out a fuel filter on the fuel pump on the frame rail on a 6-liter, it's a pain in the butt on some of them because there's no room. You got the ABS lines there. So a low pro socket would be actually really good. So I'm going to link this one down below, the 5894 for 8 pieces. And it comes with a wobble because you need that for the Cummins. I believe you need a wobble. I can't remember if you can go straight down. I think you need a wobble on a Cummins because I always put the socket in a wobble and I bring up an extension like that, and then I take a ratchet, break it loose, thread it out, reach in there because I mean you have to reach way down in there to get it, and um and then same thing to put it back because there's no room to swing a ratchet in there. So CTA Tools, and they have a lifetime warranty. I don't know if I would imagine this has a lifetime warranty, but I highly doubt that you're going to break one of these sockets taking out an oil filter or a fuel filter. And if you do, you got bigger problems than that. All right, so now this is actually really cool. So this is a block tester, right? We all know what a block tester is. You got a head gasket issue, you got an EGR cooler issue. You're going to test it with a block tester, and you're just going to get it hot, wait till the steam is coming out of the coolant, and you're going to just fill up your line here. You're going to fill this up with block test fluid, and as long as you don't get any coolant in there, if it changes colors, then you got hydrocarbons in your coolant, which is a head gasket. And so this is like bright blue fluid, and it'll turn green when it starts to detect hydrocarbons. It'll turn green, and when it full blown hydrocarbons, it'll turn yellow. Well, so I have this kit, use this all the time. I used to have the dual pumper. The problem with that is that there's multiple seals and it just ends up failing. We had one at the old shop. It worked good. Then it started failing. And then I bought one and then it failed. I tried gluing it. It worked for a bit and then it failed. So I bought one of these, just a simple, one chamber. As long as you don't get coolant in there, then you know it worked. But this is what we have at work. And so we use this for diesels. So this is actually red. For diesels, it's red and it turns yellow when you have a blown head gasket or EGR cooler, when there's hydrocarbons in the cooling system. So this is actually a really cool one right here. So in my box, I've got this set right here with this block test fluid. And what's funny is, so you see what this bottle looks like right here, this block test fluid bottle. If you order block test fluid from Napa Auto Parts, it's that exact same bottle, except for it says Napa on it, this is the fluid I prefer. I've used multiple other brands of fluid, and I don't like any of them. They don't work. They don't change right. This is the one that you want. So I've got this kit with the block test and the blue fluid. And then in the same right next to it, I've got a bottle of this for diesels. So it's actually really cool. This is made by Lyle and it's 1140. Oh yeah, this is 38 bucks. Next up, now I can tell you right now, this is 35 bucks for this little puller. So I've done quite a few turbos on 6.4s and I haven't really come to many issues, but recently I did. The last turbo that I did on a 6.4, uh, the actuator pin was stuck in the turbo and I couldn't get it out. And I tried prying it. I tried everything I could do. And I ended up having to replace the actuator because I couldn't get it out and I ended up damaging it. And I didn't realize for 35 bucks, I could have just bought a puller and popped it right off. I spent like probably a good hour and a half trying to get it off without damaging it because I didn't really want to have to go tell the boss, hey, I messed up the actuator, and that's what happened. And so I ended up having to replace the actuator. And then the actuator for a 6.4 is actually pretty interesting because they changed the design. You can't get a replacement actuator anymore for a 6.4. The replacement actuator comes with a coolant, and coolant runs through it, and it's cooled with coolant. Well, now the new style, and I forgot the company that makes it. It's a turbo company. Anyways, there's no more coolant in there, so they change it. So it's got like a plate, and you reroute the hoses to not go to the turbo cooler, the actuator cooler. So for 35 bucks right here, you could get this, and this will pop off uh, your link rod for your 6.4s. Now, some of them you don't have to do this. Some of them they just unbolt and come right off. And this is the last one right here. Now, if you've never had to deal with this right here, I'll tell you what. So I have had. So this is. Let me tell you what it is. This is an injector return diesel injector flow return test kit. So what you're looking at is how much diesel fuel is the injector? Are the injectors returning? So if you've got an injector that fails internally, then what it'll do is instead of pushing the fuel into the engine, it'll push the fuel back out the return. So therefore, you don't have enough fuel. So I've had a couple instances where before I had this tool, I had big problems. I had a 5.9 Cummins that I started at this shop and the foreman had done all this stuff to it trying to get it running. Every time I would charge up the batteries, go to test it, I would get busy. For 2 weeks, I wouldn't be able to touch it. Come back to it, charge up the batteries, test something else. And anyways, I ended up putting injectors in it. Got all done. Then we had a misfire. We had a problem with the computer. Drove it to the dealer on 5 cylinders. Had the dealer put the PCM in, showed up to pick it up, and it wouldn't start. Brought it back. Turned out that on this one here, I had to use a different kit. Actually, I'm going to add one more tool to this. I ended up having to buy these diesel line block off kit. And so what I had to do was, so a common rail diesel, it uses a fuel rail, or if you have a V8, two fuel rails, and it's a high pressure, low volume fuel system. So there's not a lot of fuel, but it's high pressure. So all it takes is for a little leak to happen, and then you don't have enough fuel for the engine to run. So on this 5.9 Cummins, I had a bad injector. It was dumping all the fuel. Engine couldn't run because there wasn't enough fuel in the fuel rail. Problem with it is, if you look up the fuel rail pressure in a scan tool, it shows the fuel rail pressure's there because it's just so fast. So what you end up having to do is go to the fuel rail pressure sensor and put a wire, put a multimeter on there, and turn the key on. And if you don't have voltage, then you got to go block off an injector. Turn the key, you don't have voltage. Lucky for me, it was the second or third one I pulled off. Put the third one on there, turned the key on, boom, I had pressure. Hooked up the other two, same thing. So then I pulled the valve cover, replaced that one injector. Everything was fine. Truck ran. I had a 2.7 Sprinter, came in with a bad engine, put an engine in it, did a whole bunch of swapping. This guy had multiple engines and he wanted different things swapped from different engines. Got all done, wouldn't run. Went around my tail trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. So what I ended up doing was using these, you see right here, these long plastic tubes with the fitting on here. So on a Sprinter, the return line comes out the top. So what you do is you take out all the clips on the Sprinter, you pull off your return line and you pinch it off back at the rail. You put all four of these, you put five of these on top of the injectors. And with mine, I was able to turn the key on and it filled one of these tubes up all the way to the top. And so I knew that injector was bad, replaced that injector, it started right up. But I've had some that had rough running and drivability issues. And so what I ended up having to do was put these on there and let it run and watch how much fuel returned out of each injector. And then I was able to determine on one of them where I had three bad injectors. So, all right, let me add one more tool to this. So I found this pretty cool kit right here. So you really only need to block off one injector at a time. So in my case, I have a set of 5, I think, and they're for Cummins. It works for Cummins and says it works for Cummins and Duramax and whatever, but there's different sizes, 14 millimeter, 18 millimeter, things like that. And so what I ended up getting was, so on that one, I just disconnected a line, blocked it off, checked it, left that on, disconnected the next line, blocked it off, tested it. And if you only had one block off cap, then really you're just going to disconnect the line, put the cap on, test it, put the line back on, and then move the block off cap to each one. So this is $60 right here for a 5-piece set. And this looks like it covers 03 to 22 Cummins, 01 to 22 Dirty Maxes, and 08 to 22 Fords. Uh, so this is actually pretty cool. It looks like you got a 5-piece set. They're all different. So let me show you what it looks like. So that's what it looks like right there when you block it, when you block off a fuel line. So we've got 40 thousandths inch, 49 thousandths, 58 thousandths. There's two of those and then a 67 thousandths. Let's see if we have. Okay, so there you go, and it shows you which one. Cap is one. Fuel cap one is for the Ford 6.4s. Okay, there's cap number 2 for the 6.7 Power Strokes, 5.9 Cummins, some Dirty Maxes. So you got some different ones. So this is actually going to be a really cool kit, and you're going to definitely want these because if you've never come across a diesel that wouldn't run because of one bad injector, you will, and you're going to want a set like this. So $60, 5 pieces, can't go wrong with that.
After watching this video, I'm sure that you found some tools in here that maybe you never heard of. Fuel injector return toolkit. I've met many people that work on diesels, have never heard of it, and actually have heard of a lot of people that said they've never seen a diesel that wouldn't start because of one bad injector. Anyways, it happens, and it might happen to you. So it's fortunate to get these tools ahead of time. $30, that tool, save your butt. So I actually found some tools in here that I didn't know existed as cheaper tools, and I'm going to be ordering as soon as I get off of here. So thanks for watching the video. Hit the like button, hit subscribe button, hit the bell, you get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know if you've tried any of these tools and if you like them or if you don't, or if you have any recommendations to go along with this list of great tools for diesels. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.